Okay, we are officially live on Facebook. Today is February 15th. It's a Monday. So I know normally we do these on Wednesdays, but I had some issues with my computer that set us back and not being able to move forward. And I don't think it worked out for both parties that day. It was quite a active day on both ends. But either or, we have Justin Day out of Las Vegas. He's owner of Detailers of Las Vegas. And there's some people that know Justin Day. He's been in the industry as a detailer. He's been detailing since 2010, started off mobile and then grew into a shop. And we'll get into all that, how that came about. And then, of course, being with and involved in the industry, IDA, and just a lot of detailers knowing him. And he has a great background story. But I'm going to pass it off to Justin. I want to thank him for being on. Again, today is kind of an off day due to the last time we tried to run the podcast, but it's, got to stick with what we're doing here and, making sure that everybody could, get this, because there was a good feedback in regards to this when we did the marketing for it. So Justin, thank you. And give us a little background on how you got started in detailing and how all that came about.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on, and happy Love Your Detailer Day, right?
Happy Love Your Detailer Day.
Mr. Ex-President.
Past. I like the word ex. Sounds like I was in a relationship or something.
Past president, much due respect. So I actually got started in detailing as a kid. I was always like a hustler, in the summertime. I grew up in Baltimore, and my motivation really as a kid was like candy. I grew up behind a supermarket, and I would cut grass in the summer, shovel snow in the winter, wash cars in the spring, fall, summer, whenever I could, from the time I was like 10 up. And, so that's where I kind of got my start. Obviously, I dropped the towel on the ground, pick it back up.
Did I lose you? You there, Justin?
But, I'm here.
Okay, sorry, you froze on me for a moment. Are you on a Wi-Fi connection or a direct connection?
No worries. I guess I'm on a Wi-Fi connection.
Don't worry, we'll work with it as it goes. We just noticed it cut out, so that's probably what it was from. So it may happen again. So no worries. I'll let you know. That way you can kind of pick up from where you left off if you're in deep to a story.
Yeah. So I basically grew up as a hustler. I always wanted to try to make money, and ended up getting in some trouble as a kid. I grew up in Baltimore. Still there?
I'm listening. Yeah, the audio, and it's like a kung fu movie, where your lips are moving but the audio is going quicker.
I wonder if this would be better off on my cell phone. Anyways,
that's okay. We can keep moving. We're already live.
Yeah. So I got in some trouble as a kid, was running with the wrong crowd, ended up getting locked up. I was away from the time I was like 16 and a half till my 19th birthday. Towards the end of my stay, they kind of like moved you from behind the fence to like a halfway house for kids. And there was like 5 or 6 different jobs that you could have done. It was like a restaurant job, a masonry, an auto body shop. I don't even remember what the other things were, but as you're behind the fence, you're thinking like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Well, I ultimately wanted to do the masonry job because it was the longest hours. So I'd be away from there for the longest. And I knew that they weren't going to put me in the body shop because I was like known for stealing cars. I stole cars. So why would they put me in a body shop with a bunch of cars around? So incidentally, it just worked out that some other kid was in the masonry position when I got there, and they put me in the auto body shop. And I was there, I don't know, maybe a day and a half. And the owner, I was sweeping and mopping, and the owner's like, okay, it's time for you to learn how to detail. He's like, I want you to wash this car and detail it. It had just been, body worked on. There was body dust. There was overspray. There was all kinds of stuff. I was 18 years old, right? And started washing the car. Did the best I could do. And 2 hours later, he comes back and he's like, "This looks like crap, man. Like, what did you do for 2 hours?" I'm like, "Well, I mean, I washed it. I did it. He's like, well, what about the wheel wells, the door jambs? Look down here. There's dust over here. And I'm like, okay, give me like another hour with it. He's like, all right. So he walks away. Well, I just wiped over the same things that I had already wiped over, you know, like, because you don't think about detailing until you really
No.
get taught how to detail, you know? So I just kept wiping. I'm like, as long as I keep working, keep moving, like, I'm good, right? And he came back, he's like, dude, same things I told you, wheel wells, door jambs, windows, like, come on. And, you know, it was a lot more abrasive than that. But, and I want, you know, I was, everybody knows I'm still a little bit of a hothead, but I was really, really bad as a kid. So I wanted to blow up on this dude. But I knew that it was my only chance to getting out of there for 8 hours a day. And, you know, I knew it was my ticket home eventually. So I had to behave. I had to take it. It was almost like, you know, kind of being in boot camp, or just people, your drill sergeant told you whatever he wanted to tell you, and you couldn't cry, you couldn't talk back, is yes, sir, and get your ass to it and go do it, you know?
Suck it up.
So, you know, that's kind of how I learned. And after I started kind of applying myself and taking interest in the business itself as a body shop, you know, body shop as a whole, they started letting me do, like, you know, prepping panels for blending, like, you know, where if they would replace a fender, we would, you know, sand the door with 800, you know, to just blend the color and stretch the clear out. Well, you know, from time to time, I would like be doing that, and I'd burn through the clear coat right up next to the next panel over, you know, of course. So like, they're yelling at me like, now we got to paint this, now we got to do this, and this is why. So now, you know, but thankfully all that happened while I was in a body shop, because it was like we just pushed it back in the booth and retaped it and sprayed it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
you had the advantage because everything was at your fingertips.
It was a major advantage. So, you know, when, you know, I never really took part in the detailing industry as a whole, you know, in the social media and SEMA aspect, because I had kind of learned those roots from body shop. And but then again, you know, I didn't understand the compact, you know, the idea of prepping paint, you know, and getting it ready for wax, sealant, or coating to actually stick. You know, we would finish with 3M to perfect it, you know what I mean? And it's full of fillers, you know, and a lot of body shop guys that I know still use it. And I'm like, dude, just spray like 50-50 alcohol, or, you know, some kind of solvent on it, and watch, you'll see what everything's still there. You see it, you know, brand new cars, sand marks this big down the side of them. And it's like, that came from the factory that way. And it's like, you and I know we use a little bit of on a tiny little pad, and it's like done.
Yeah.
How can you guys not understand the concept of this and knock it out when we're paying this high dollar from, you know, F-150 is $50,000 now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the things that are left behind and just they're overlooked.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, so that kind of stuff I'm sure happened a lot when I was back there. But at any rate, I, you know, came home, did some other things for a while, ended up moving to Las Vegas and opening my detailing business out of the back of this tiny little, what was it, Mazda B2000. And this was like tiny, dude, not even the Ranger style, like the old Toyota mini truck looking style. And it was an interesting.
What moved you, not to cut you off, but what moved you to Vegas? Out of all the places you could have gone in the US from where you were, why Vegas?
So, you know, something happened, and I wanted to kind of get away. So I moved to the beach in Maryland, and I was bartending, making great money, partying, hanging out with new people every day. Not too crazy here, because you know, just having
enjoying life at that age. Yes.
Loving life. I was, you know, 22 years old.
Oh yeah. Come on. Yeah, that's just the age right there, right?
Yeah, man. I got pulled over every single day for like racing stoplight to stoplight. And, you know, I was always getting myself in some kind of jam. Well, summer ended and everybody went home, and the town that went from like 500,000 people went to a town of like 30,000 people.
Oh, wow.
It's like, man, I can't do this. I can't do it. Where is the party never gonna stop? Vegas.
This is
So
true.
I kind of packed up, sold all my stuff. Just me and my one dog rode out here in my 2-door car, and I started a new life. And when I first got here, I bartended. It was very lucrative. And then in 2008, when the crash hit, the housing market crash, Vegas was really hit hard. Obviously, because, when people don't have extra money, first thing that goes is their play money, and Vegas is nothing but play. We don't have an industry here. We have a little bit of mining and stuff, but like our industry is entertainment, And,
yeah, I'm sure you got to witness that firsthand, because you saw the flow prior to 08, and then when 08 came, you saw the whole transition, and you were probably like, what the heck's going on?
But it was like right when I moved here. I mean, I moved here at the end of 07. This all happened,
wow.
So I like hightailed it back to Baltimore, where I knew that I had a solid, foundation. But I got there, and 3 days later, I'm like, what did I do? Why did I leave Vegas? Why did I come back here? All my family and friends are here. They missed me. They're like, hey, we missed you so much. For the first week, it's great. And then it's like back to normal,
Yeah.
And like, I really miss the Vegas weather. I miss the people. Well, not necessarily the people, but just like, I love Vegas, man. You look outside, the sky is always blue. Like, you can see from end to end. We have everything. California beaches is really close. The desert, the mountains, snowboarding, skiing, like, whatever you want to do, you can do here. And I loved it here, and I missed it. So I worked my tail off, and I got back here in like 2.5 months. And did some, fooling around, like bartending, waitering. And then eventually in 2010, I was like, I'm tired of working for other people. Like, I'm going to start my own thing. Like, what do I really know how to do? Well, I really, really, really know how to detail. And I always had like, beater cars, but they were always super clean. I would just take very good care of them. I'd wash them once a week. And so I started, 2-boxers mobile detailing to feed my 2 boxers at the time. That was really why I came up with the name. I was like, why do I have to do this? Because I got 2 dogs to feed. So bought 2-boxers mobile detailing. And I started off in motorcycles because I was in the motorcycle scene there, riding on the street, racing at the track, that kind of stuff. So I really enjoy motorcycles, for one, because you can knock them out in an hour and a half, and how that feels, seeing that product go from a 1 to a 10 that quick. When you polish a whole Suburban, it takes you 3 days to make that transition. When you detail a bike, it takes you an hour and a half. So it was always a good feeling. But
it's good too, because when you ride, you attract riding customers, so it works out. Versus like me, I don't ride, so I don't attract customers that ride motorcycles. So
it opens up a new market.
Oh gosh, yeah.
JD, say hi. This is another Justin. Say hi to Justin Labato and everybody on Facebook Live.
Out of school today.
President's Day.
Yeah, enjoy it.
I'm gonna be here for like an hour today, and then him and I are going to kick it. We're out of here. But yeah, so back to what I was saying. I charge $20 or $25 a bike. You know what I mean? For me to come to someone's house and pretty much detail it. I would call it a wash, but it would be pretty much a detail. In either 101 degrees in the summer or 40 degrees in the winter. We get like 6 good weeks a year, or 3 in the spring and 3 in the fall. Otherwise it's like really hot or really like kind of chilly. So I dealt with that, and then I figured, okay, I've been doing this for a little bit. I changed my vehicle. I started using better products. I was like, I'm gonna up my prices. So I upped my prices like $5 or $10 to like 30 or 35, and lost like 70% of my clientele right off the bat. They're like, no, we liked it better when you were doing it for 20. Can't afford 30. Okay.
Isn't that crazy how that works? I mean, literally that much of a
margin,
bringing your prices up, and then you end up losing a customer, knowing that they have the money, because they just
That's what I try to tell people now. Like, don't try to start your business on the low end and then think you're going to develop your clientele just to raise your prices, because you're going to lose that clientele.
No.
focused on this clientele that wants quality service, that wants that when they call and they ask how much, and you're like, well, it's $60 to come out and wash your car. They're like, okay, cool, perfect. Like, they don't have a question in their mind, like, well, what kind of towels does this guy use? Is he gonna, and here in Vegas, we have a lot of guys here, and a lot of times I get called, hey, can you come detail my car today? Well, no, because I wasn't just sitting around waiting
for that phone call.
But why do you need it done today? Well, I called so and so, and I booked him and he didn't show up, and I'm like, how much was he gonna charge? $30. I'm like, okay, I'll come wash your car maybe today for $30. What's your address? It's like, you get what you pay for. Like, when I ask you for these prices and when I take a deposit, it's because I'm serious about my time. I'm serious about your time.
Yep.
So you can't be afraid to ask for that deposit. It'll separate the cream from the rest. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
The people that'll leave a deposit willingly are people that genuinely want to use you. The people that won't, that, make up an excuse. I need to talk to my wife, or I need to, check my this, check my that, whatever. Like, ultimately they may be serious, but they don't want to commit right then. So either way, like I said, let's get back to changing, the evolution of the business. So then
with the price changes, not to interrupt you, but the price changes, I've noticed there was a guy came through, he did one of our one-day trainings, and he was having the same issue. And I had suggested that because he was trying to gain clientele, and he figured if he went in low, he could gain more clientele than raise his rates. What he ended up doing, based on my suggestion, was basically marketing that he would do the job for $100, but normally it was $150. So that way, the customer was aware that this is the normal price, but I'm doing it for this much. That way the value's there, but he's also gaining clientele with the clientele already knowing that normally it's this much, but I'll give it to you for that much. That helped him out a lot. That way he wasn't climbing back to the top with a lot of resistance.
Right. And I mean, which ultimately, led me to my pricing boards, which, they take the guesswork out of it. You know what I mean? And it's like, when a customer comes in and sits down and looks at a price, it's just like walking into McDonald's. They know whether they want the quarter pounder, the double quarter pounder, whether they want to add bacon to it. They already know what they want. And it's right there on the menu. And it's not like McDonald's is like, $6. Like, I did that for a long time. People call me, well, how much for this? Well, now I'm like, okay, well, can you come in for a consultation? If not, hold on, let me get to my computer and we can discuss some prices. Like, and I'll go onto my website where my prices are and build them an invoice and send it to them, and with that, we offer different values for different packages. Like, if someone comes in and gets an interior and exterior detail, we do the engine bay and detail the trunk for included, because as a full detail package inside and out, it should be, but normally as an inside detail, we don't do the trunk unless that's paid for and specified, and on an exterior, we don't do the engine bay unless it's paid for or specified. So that's a good way also that we've found to do it. Just kind of throw in a package that may
help incentivize to the customer.
Yeah, what's an engine bay take? 20 minutes tops. With the way that we do it, it's. So with that being said, nothing really changed dramatically in my life until 2016 when my wife moved here from Baltimore. We knew each other back when we were like 16. We met at Skateland.
That's awesome.
Yeah, hung out a couple times, and then I ended up getting locked up and didn't talk to her until actually around this time of 2016. She had just gotten out of a marriage and had a stepdaughter with, a previous husband. And she's like, we started chatting on Facebook, yada, yada, yada. And we started talking on the phone. She's like, you live in Vegas now? I'm like, yeah, you should come visit. She's like, nah, I'm not coming to Vegas. Like, I don't have no reason to go to Vegas. I'm like, wait, you can come see me. And she's like, whatever, so we ended up chatting over a couple weeks, and I ended up talking her into coming. She's like, just so you know, I'll never move there, just, I'm putting that out there right now. I'm like, okay, no worries, just come out, we'll hang out, whatever, and then you can go home, whatever, or we'll see where it goes. So she came out, we had an amazing time. And when she left, she obviously got home. She's like, okay, I think I probably could move there.
It is kind of addicting once you get out there. It's almost like, do I gotta go home?
Yeah, like we went out with two of my friends and their two girlfriends out on the boat. It was like March here. It was 80 some degrees. We were out on the boat, surfing, wakeboarding, partying at this, lodge all weekend. And it was like a vacation for me too. So, I mean, I was like, oh yeah, I'd want to move to this place. Like, so she visited a couple more times and we made a plan. And I ended up going back in June that year, a couple months later, and she came back with me for good. And let's see, so she came here. She's always been in the medical field. So she worked in the medical field for the first couple months and then just found it was like really difficult to work at the place she was at. She was at like a women's clinic. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on there, I'm sure,
Yeah.
So she offered to come work for me, and we were mobile at the time. And I was like, all right, well, let's see where it can go. Well, we hustled our butts off. Everywhere we went, we were like handing out business cards, wearing our shirts, two boxers. Like I would I would just introduce ourselves to everyone, and I was listening to this podcast, around that time, and they were talking about Encyclopedia Britannica. You remember when they used to have encyclopedias, like that whole freaking set of books before the internet and all this stuff started? Yeah. You know how you got those books? Door-to-door salesman sold those books.
Oh, crap.
So the number one door-to-door.
He wasn't carrying them, I hope.
No, well, he would. He would carry one or two or a set of them and come to your door and knock. So the best salesperson, the guy actually had 50% Down syndrome. And when asked, how he became the best salesman, he said, I knocked on every single door. And the other top salesman guys, or the guys that weren't selling as many, they'd walk up, they'd look at what kind of car was there. And if they saw a Honda Civic, they'd keep walking. They saw a Mercedes, they'd come knock. But the Honda Civic people might have kids that need to do book reports.
Yeah.
You can never overlook a customer because of how they look. I have people come in here with vehicles and they're just like, and I'm like, this is a horrendous paint job. And they're like, well, here's $5,000 to fix it. And I'm like, thank you. Okay, we'll fix it.
We'll make it right and some.
Yes, exactly. Right. We'll do your interior. We'll coat it. We're going to kill it.
Yeah.
But, it's like that motivated me to, introduce myself to people. And so as I was washing a car one time, my mentor, I don't know, yesterday, I actually just PPF and coated his new Porsche this weekend. It's like a ghost gray Porsche 911 turbo.
Nice.
Beautiful car. Yeah, dude. And I was washing a car one day and he pulled up in this Mercedes S550 and he's like, hey. I was like, hey. And then, I mean, here, you got to work, bro. It's like 10% humidity. That soap is drying on the car like this, right? We're on Florida.
Oh yeah, you get nosebleeds. Why? Well, at least me coming from Florida, coming over there, I get nosebleeds every time. But yeah,
exactly, bro. So this soap is drying like this. He pulls up. He's like, hey. I'm like, hey. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, cutting the grass. What's up? He's like, oh, you're funny. I'm like, because I was hot. It was the end of the day. I was frustrated. He's like, oh, you're funny. He's like, what do you think of this car? I was like, it's nice. Like, he's like, well, I'm test driving it and I'm thinking about buying it. And he's like, you think I should buy it? And I was like, yeah, you should buy it. And you should have me come here every Saturday morning and wash it for you. And he's like, that's pretty good. Do you got a card? So he takes, and I was like, can you just take a picture of the side of the van? Like, seriously, I'm so sorry. Like, I gotta knock this out. This client is paying for this time. I would love to have your business, but I can't spend too much time with you. He's like, I respect the shit out of that. Takes a picture of my van, goes. 3 weeks later, I get a call from him. He's like, hey, this is the guy with the S550 that came by when you were mowing the lawn. And I was like, oh, all right. And we've had a great relationship ever since, man. I've done his cars pretty much every Saturday morning. His name's Mark. He's been a huge influence in my business. He's been able to build his business from the ground up to, you know, nothing to a $40 million company a year. And,
Wow.
you know, he has nothing against, you know, helping me make my business that way and giving me, you know, advice and pointing me in the right direction. He's been such an inspiration to me. So, you know, I heard your I guess post the other day about getting a mentor, you know, and even if it's not in this business, it's so important to have a mentor in business and life and health, whatever it takes. But you got to have somebody that knows a little bit more than you, kind of directing you, or just even to bounce ideas off of, like, hey, what do you think of this, you know? And hold on one sec. Yes, you can have that. Take it up. You know, even down to my mobile unit, when I was ready to advance from that 2002 Econoline van, you know, it just was on its last leg. It didn't have AC. I was sending my guys out. They were like, dude, this is crazy. I called Mark. I'm like, hey, there's a Transit, there's a Nissan NV, and there's this Mercedes Metris. Like, what would you pull up to first? He's like, and I sent them the pictures of him. He's like, this one. I'm like, this one's $5,000 more than the rest of them. And he's like, doesn't matter. I'm like, okay. So you understand that it's okay for me to spend a little bit more money now up front to try to gain that money back in the higher end clients, right? Because, I mean, this van's all over the place. People call me and they're like, hey, we see you rolling down Sunset. How much do you charge for a wash? You know, I'm like, and it's just a rolling billboard, you know?
Yep.
So back to the growth, when Hilary and I finally started washing cars together, we made, I want to say it was like $130,000 in 2017 mobile washing and
what was your service structure then? Like, what were the kind of services that you
literally
offered?
the extent of polishing and all that was single steps, all-in-ones, or, you know, panel repairs, like scratch repair, where I would just come in, wet sand a scratch. You know, we were working outside. Like, I didn't really, I didn't have the space, and I knew it, that I didn't have the space to do a real correction. Like, and I didn't want to leave somebody's car all hologrammed up either, you know? So it was like, this is what I'm able to do. I'm able to come out, I'm able to wash it, detail it, steam clean it, shampoo it, engine bay, put a sealant on, clay bar, decontaminate, scratch removal, you know, those kind of things we were able to do.
Keeping it simple based on what you were dealt with
what we had.
everything.
I mean, you know,
that's still a good amount of services and still way to build good revenue on just that.
I gotta tell you, man, when I added an air compressor to the van, like, because I had been in the back of trucks, in the back of, you know, I had trailers. I had never had an air compressor really before, like 16. So when I put an air compressor in there and started using a Tornador, bro, that cut your interior time. But, you know, depending on the car, up to a 16th, you know what I mean? It can really like do quick work. So that was another thing, you know, as I started looking into new detailing products, finally, you know, we would come across things like the Tornador, which was great. So let's see, we went to SEMA 2017, and that's where we met you at Rennie's place. We pretty much didn't know anyone. Somebody invited us and was like,
the Wednesday night gathering.
Yeah, it was back when it was at the cigar bar at the Mirage.
Yes, when we were like this.
Yeah,
shoulder to shoulder.
It was fucking sorry, it was great. It was great though. You know, I miss those days. I can't wait till we can all be shoulder to shoulder again, bro.
Yeah.
Didn't you say it like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was great. You know, someone invited me. It was like, don't tell anyone that I invited you, but you know, you should come and check it out. Ultimately, it was Chris West. So thank you, Chris. You're an awesome dude too.
He's a good guy.
So he invited me to Rennie's thing, and as I walked into Rennie's thing, I was like, holy shit, I never knew that this many detailers got together. This is crazy. Like, you know, most of my competition, like when we drive by, we wave at each other, but like we never stop to talk at each other at the water station or at the shop, you know what I mean? The supply shop. Like, we're just like, hey, sup, hey, you know?
Yeah.
So when I walked in there, I was like, this is insane. This is crazy. I was like, I want to meet everyone. Like, I want to know everybody's story. So I literally just walked in, started shaking everybody's hand. I was like, hey, my name's Justin. I own 2 boxes of mobile detail, and that's my wife, Hilary. Hey, my name's Justin. I own 2 boxes of mobile detail, and that's my wife, Hilary. And literally just made my way around that whole entire U. And we got to meet people from everywhere. Ed Twillinger, like, you know, all the guys from Rupes, from Flex, from Lake Country, from, you know, Ivan, you know, people that are just like huge in the industry, you know, which was super cool to me. Because I go back the next day, I'm like looking all you guys up, like, oh shit, cool, like that's nice. Well, that night, Rennie had said, you know, you guys got to meet these 2 guys, like, you got to meet them. So as they come walking in, he's like, hey, come here, you got to meet these guys. That's Chris and Christian Parker, right? So they come over, and Rennie's like, you know, this is Justin, this is Chris, these are my, you know, 2 of my top guys, like they're out of Scottsdale, they do amazing work, yada, yada, yada. So we ended up sitting with them and, you know, just shooting the shit. So super cool dudes. That was, you know, obviously late October, early November, whatever. When SEMA was over, we kept in contact with them, and, you know, we had expressed an interest in wanting to learn how to apply coatings. And, you know, obviously, like, when I think of, you know, very professional shops within this Southwest region, they're one of the top tier shops. So, you know, I guess I want to say I asked Christian if he could, you know, if he'd be interested in training us. So we had to go back to the manufacturer and ask them if it was okay. And ultimately it was. So we went out there and spent 2 days at Detail Boss and applied, you know, all the coatings and just kind of learned about them and their shop.
Was that your first time in Scottsdale, or had you been out there before?
Yeah. I had never been
crazy.
to Scottsdale. It is crazy, bro.
It's nice. It's super nice.
Yeah,
Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, I actually had somebody reach out to me like, hey, are you interested in starting a franchise in Scottsdale? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, I have zero desire to start a franchise in Scottsdale or anywhere near. Like, I would never want to compete, nor would I even think I could. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
those guys do top-notch work. Their shop's brilliant, you know. So either way, we went out there, learned from them. And then when I walked in their shop, obviously I'm like, okay, like, I want something like this, you know, ultimately I want something like this, you know. And I mean, obviously, like, I have a light tunnel similar to theirs, nothing on the scale of theirs, you know, this is just my rendition of it.
Yeah. And there's crazy thing is there's plenty of renditions now of
now there
tunnels,
is,
which is awesome, because it's like,
right.
There's so many cool ways that people have taken their own take on it.
Right. Now there's hex lighting and there's all kinds of cool stuff. So, but I mean, at the time they were like the only one with one, you know, and I didn't really ask any questions. I didn't ask where'd you get it, how'd you build it, but I was just taking mental images like, man, this thing's beautiful. I want something like this in my shop someday. And I didn't even have a shop. So it was like, well, find the shop first, right? So I came back from Scottsdale super motivated, you know, started reaching out to some of my number 1 clients, you know, my top tier clients, and saying, hey, you know, we learned this new, you know, ceramic coating, like blah, blah, blah. I had done a few coatings before that. We had used like Flight Shield or something like that, but
that was really big for a little while too.
It was, you know, back in like 16, something like that, but nobody knew that you had to level it out like you did, and high spots, low spot. You didn't understand. There wasn't the science behind it now, whereas now there's actually a very correct way to install a coating to maximize the efficiency of the coating. One, let it sit on the car as long as possible, so it can start soaking in before wiping it, and then learning how to deal with high spots. So to me, when I think of training with a coating company, I'm just saying this for everybody out there. When you train with a coating company, make sure that they train you how to deal with issues that go bad. That is the number 1 thing you should be trained on, because to install it, you can watch a YouTube video. It's very, very simple. To learn what to do when you mess it up is the most important thing. So, you know, with that said, we came back, reached out to a couple clients. got their cars in, did them, and another guy had taken an interest in my building or in my business. And it's funny because my mentor just said this to me yesterday. He's like, you remember that guy that offered you $5,000 for 40% of your business? And I was like, oh my God, yeah. It's like, because I had never really done like $1,000 job or a $3,000-$4,000, you know what I mean? I was just like, okay, what do I need to find a building? Like, all right, I need like 10 grand, right? So I'm thinking in my head, how do I come up with 10 grand? So what I ultimately ended up doing was I told him no, but he had a building that he was willing to rent me half of, which is here, Detailers of Las Vegas. So originally when I moved in, I only really rented half of the building, which is why I built out just the one half. Ultimately, over COVID, he ended up kind of flunking out on the rent. I had to take over everything. So that's why I was finally able to build out the other side of the shop. But with that said, he was like, I can rent you half of this building, yada, yada, yada. So I was just thinking like, okay, how am I going to come up with this money? So I started reaching out to all my top clients, like, and all my medium clients and all my lower end clients and anybody that I had ever done work for. I had like a book, just like with calendar, like, those big desk calendar pages.
Oh yeah.
I literally had a file full of like a couple years of them folded in four. And what I had just written was name, number, address, and the vehicle and what service, you know what I mean? So it was like, I went all the way back to like 2015, reached out to everyone. Hey, we're opening a shop. Hey, we're opening a shop. Hey, we're opening a shop. Can we get you on the books? Can we get you?
How was the feedback for that from that approach? Because they know that you were mobile, and then going into a shop, what was the feedback you were getting?
So, I mean, a lot of them were like, are you still going to be mobile? And at the time I was like, yeah, I'll still be mobile. I had no idea that I was going to have to, like, I would have been stretching myself so thin, like it would have been nearly impossible. So the feedback was mixed. Some people were interested and really wanted the ceramic coating. Some people really wanted the professionalism of a shop, and when I could offer more professional results, and I had showed them the vehicles that I had done when we came back from Chris and Christian's. We did those out of the people's garages, but when we pulled them out in the sun, they just looked insane. It was like a black Lexus and a black F-250, and like, nothing shows off better than black in the sun. So when you have those kind of pictures, and you want to portray that kind of image of, this is the work we're trying to do, but we can't do it out of your garage. We need a space where we can set up an air compressor and dedicated polishing places and, things that we need to do these details. We got pretty good feedback. So anyways, what I did was I ended up taking half down deposits from like 40 people. And that's what I used to get us into the shop.
Very nice.
And as they came, they would pay the other half as they would pick up their vehicle, and that was my income. You know what I mean? Just half of the job, half of the job, half of the job.
That's a smart way of doing it.
It was the only way I could have done it. Like, I couldn't ask, like, my parents wouldn't have given me the money, nor would I at this point in my life ask them for it. I had zero credit at the time because, all I did was work out of a mobile van. I paid my insurance. I paid my bike insurance. I mean, I owned my motorcycle outright. I owned the van outright. Didn't really have payments on anything. Didn't have my first credit card until like 2017. You know what I mean? And so it was, just this very, very small operation for a long time. And so, we opened up and we started doing this work, and we started doing the build. I mean, we would work during the day, man, and at night paint walls or, build or do whatever we had to do to make the shop workable, because we walked into an empty warehouse, bro. There was 12 electric sockets in this whole entire building. 12.
Oh, that's not good for a detailer.
There was extension cords and power strips and shit just going everywhere. But I mean, I finally, now that we built everything out, there's like 72 or something back there total, you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but we filled the whole entire circuit panel now, so everything's on dedicated circuits, you know, and we were popping circuits.
And you know where it's at because you put it there.
Yeah, well, I designed it all, you know. That was the only work that I didn't do was the electrical work, but I designed it all. I told him
Yeah.
exactly where I wanted it, where I needed it. So that was kind of cool, you know. Now we have all the power in the world, which is great. But at the time, you know, we just did what we could and built what we could. And then when SEMA was coming around 2019, wait, no, sorry, 18, the year after we met all you guys, we were like, you know what, like Rennie's party was awesome. We're getting such great feedback on our shop and our work from people all over. Why don't we throw a party like the night before Rennie's and see how it turns out? You know, and we're like, we want to throw a grand opening party anyways. What better than SEMA, you know, because we were getting recommendations from people all over the country. Like, you know, Jace Price, you know Jace Price, right? He had just moved to New Mexico, so he was sending us all of his old clients. Like, people were sending us, I mean, people come to Vegas from all over the world. And when someone comes to Vegas and then, you know, do you know a detailer, and they tag us, hold on one second. We wanted to be able to kind of repay them for that, you know what I mean? And host them at an event, at a party, at our shop to show them, like, this is where you're sending people. This is the professional level that, you know, we can offer. We want to take care of your clients just as good as you can. Okay, we'll find Charlie. So, you know, we started putting out stuff for the party, I don't know, in like July or September, somewhere in there, you know,
a couple months right before, yeah.
Yeah, and we got really good feedback. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna go all out. Like, I hired people to come out and valet park cars. I hired, you know, we had a red carpet rolling down to where you know, pulled up and got out of your car. As you were walking up, we had like a photo booth where you would, you know, in front of a step repeat, bartender, food, giveaways, DJ. It was a blast, you know what I mean? And we decided, like, well, okay, this was awesome. We're gonna make it a yearly tradition. So we did it again in 19, and obviously we missed out on 2020, but hopefully we'll be able to do it again this year. But yeah, ever since then, we've just been kind of plugging along. Ended up hiring Joshua Tan. Do you know the King of Clear Broad, Josh Tan? He was at the transparent party. Super
maybe
good guy.
by face.
He's in Santa Clara. He owns Rap Culture. He ended up coming down and training us on PPF, and so that's been an interesting.
That might be the same gentleman who trained or worked with Sean.
Sean, yeah,
yep,
it is.
Okay, that's why I'm familiar with that name.
Yeah, he trained Sean too. So, but yeah, he's a super talented guy, and taught us as much as he could in 4 days. So we, you know, that was good. It opened up an opportunity for us to start being able to bring in a new service without having to pay out a subcontractor or, well, this was all how it went in my mind, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, we're just gonna offer it ourselves now. Well, yeah, no. It takes months, if not years, to perfect paint protection film installation.
Yeah.
And, you know, here I think to myself, I'm like, I know some real dumbasses that can install PPF, right? Like, I gotta be able to do this, right? Like,
yeah.
There's not a lot of things that I've tried in life that I haven't been like relatively decent at, you know, like I'm like, there's no way I can't do this. Bruh, you know.
I know. I'm in the same boat as you on that. Yes.
But the good thing is like, you know, we're in a day and age where we have people we can reach out to, you know, we have FaceTime where we can call up the people that we know are best at it and be like, where would you seam this together? Because this is a custom hood. There's no way I'm going to be able to bulk install with one piece. Like, you know, and it's nice to be able to have that kind of network of people. And, you know, and then he calls me when he has issues about polishing, and he's like, you know, what about this? Blah, blah, blah. Tell me about this. And it's nice, you know, and I'm sure you get it a lot too. People message you and ask you, hey, what would you do in this situation? Hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but what would you do in this situation? And, you know, I've gotten like gifts sent to me from all over, man, like of people thanking me for my time. And, you know, and to me, it's just a form of giving back, you know, because in something that everybody else gave so freely, you know, and to me, there's a lot of competition in this industry, local and industry wide. And every now and then I kind of fall victim to getting into some of the drama. But to me, honestly, like my main focus is being better than me yesterday and the day before and last month and the year before. Not being better than my neighbor. Like there's plenty of cars for all of us to make a very, very good living. Talking shit about each other doesn't do anything except cause drama and take away from your being able to focus on your business, you know?
Yeah. And most of the time, literally, it's just that. Like, so it's like a waste of time to even do it.
Right.
You know, it's like there's nothing that even comes from it. Like after it's all said and done, it's like, okay, what did this come to? Oh,
but
nothing.
You know as well as I am. I mean, you had a rough past too, man. Like we're hot headed, you know. It's you can only say so many things to me, and then I'm gonna blow up. Like,
oh yeah. Listen, I just had a hard sparring real gym fight this last Friday night for 4 rounds. So somebody that was calling the gym out, and I was the one that stepped up to the plate. And it was a nice friendly reminder. Friday, Saturday, I had some bruises up here, back here.
I was gonna say you look all right.
Trust me, the Friday and Saturday, I don't know how it went away so quick, but I was shocked. But yeah, it was a hard 4 rounds, 2-minute rounds with 1 minute rest. And
that's the healthy way to do it, man. And like and I'm like, to me, I grew up boxing and wrestling. So it's like I'm totally down to hop in a ring with someone. Like,
and when you get it over with, you hug it out.
I'll shake your hand.
Yeah.
You walk away. Like
that's the correct way of doing it.
But I guarantee you'll never run your mouth about me again. You know what I mean? Like you'll respect me for who I am.
Both ways.
And I'll respect you, you know, but talking shit from across the country, like just makes you look like an idiot. Yeah. And I, again, I've fallen victim to it before, and it's just like, it's so not worth it. I have so much to focus on out here and so much to focus on in here. And, with my son, you know how it is, man. Baby's only going to be baby's so long, and, you're so lucky that you get your babies all the time. I get my baby half the time, so I get them on Sunday, super excited, and by Wednesday I'm drained. But when I drop them off, I like cry the whole way home because I had to work all day Monday, all day Tuesday, and you know what I mean? I had to focus. And I got people calling me at night, hey, how much for a coating, blah, blah. And it's like, as well as I do, you did that video of polishing in the dark. Sometimes cars got to go tomorrow. I mean, it's that person's daily driver. They're depending on you to finish it. You went the extra mile to fix stuff that they didn't necessarily pay for. That
took
you didn't
more time than what was anticipated.
But you still owe them that car, whether you did more or not. So, and then on the same token, they're calling around looking for a detailer to find out where they can drop their car off for ceramic coating tomorrow. So they call you 7 p.m. You don't answer. They're calling the next one. Then they're calling the next one. Then they're calling the next one. I mean, I want to be that personal person. I mean, I'm personal for my clients, my current clients. Why can't I be personal for my future clients? But there's got to be a line drawn. You know what I mean? Because I can't be. If I'm on my phone going back and forth with someone about ceramic coatings, my wife's looking at me like, "Hi, babe." Like we're both sitting. Both sitting right
here. I get the same thing.
Waiting for you. Yeah. And it's like, I'm sorry. Sorry, like
maybe you're gonna close this. Not sure, but potentially.
Trying, exactly. I'm trying to make our life better. And with that said, man, oh my God, bro, this brings me to my worst point, and then we can move on to whatever you want. I haven't seen so many guys and so many relationships go astray than in this business, man. Like guys put their heart and soul into their business and they forget and lose track of what they have at home. It happened to me. And you have to be able to separate. You have to be able to draw that line and say, okay, this phone is going to be turned off from this point on. Or it's going to be on silent, or maybe I can check it once every 2 hours, but for 2 minutes, come up with something so that, it is what it is. Like, women are human too.
Yeah.
When we're focused so much on our business and women are like watching us succeed, but they're raising our babies, they grow resentments, that kind of happened with me. My wife started to grow resentment, and I had to check myself and refocus, and I ended up hiring an operations manager to kind of take over things and get everything in line. And I mean, he got us set up with Urable and, a lot of these easy processes. Each one of our tools has a list of how to use it, and each one of our services in Urable has directions of what exactly to do. Each employee has a tablet now, so they come in, they sign out. There's no more like me counting time cards at the end of the week or
giving you time back.
Processing checks. Yeah, I mean, he created these systems for me that now it's just come in, somebody texts me with the information, I can literally copy it, paste, copy, paste, copy.
And it's so easy to lose sight of what's going on at home, and it's so easy to just indulge so much into your business, the craft. I mean, and there's different time frames of when that happens. Like sometimes you're so indulged in the craft because you're just learning this new process that just blew you away, or new product, you know what I mean? Or the business side, because the week's doing so well, or the week's not so well. Now you're in hustle mode.
Either way, exactly.
Your laser vision and just, I want to get the schedule filled, but you could lose yourself into that so easily. And yet that is losing also at home because you're not focusing on the other priorities that offsets everything. But balance is key. Yeah.
You have to have that healthy balance, man, that healthy balance that keeps the business happy and keeps the home life happy, and thankfully I feel like I've finally found 95% of that,
That's good.
But, you also have to learn how to communicate with your clients and your partner. And, instead of me normally before along, I would have been like, I'm trying to close this deal. If you would just give me a minute, now it's like, well, this is a $4,300 job. Can I just take like 5 minutes and build this estimate? Sure. Yeah, you can build that estimate. It's all in communication, man. With relationships, communication is so important, so key nowadays.
It is. Now, with your transition from mobile to shop, I mean, obviously, it's got its own laundry list of responsibilities going from a shop to mobile, which are much greater. But for you, I mean, that transition, is there anything that you regret, or you think it was all well worth every bit of sacrifice? Because a lot of people that are mobile want to take that leap, but is there something that you could put out there, a word of advice in regards to that transition that you experienced that could kind of get them off the ledge to be like, yes, go shop if that's the direction they want to go?
So know this business is very, very easy to start an entry-level business. It's very cheap, and you can do it at a Home Depot in about an hour. You can start a detailing business, right? You don't have to have an LLC, you don't have to have insurance, you don't have to have anything, and you can go out and start making money detailing cars. So with that said,
and to cover you on that doesn't mean you're doing it legitly, but you're doing it and you're making bread. That's what
I'm just saying. Yeah, the entry level point of this car washing detailing business is very, very cheap. Very cheap. You can get your taxes back and start a detailing business. Is my point, right?
Yep.
Definitely not legitimately, because each one of these papers you got to pay for. But let me get back to it. My biggest issue with going from mobile to shop was trying to replicate myself in either place, whether it be mobile or in the shop, right? So if I could replicate myself in the shop, then I would go mobile. If I could replicate myself mobile, then I would be able to stay in the shop. My biggest thing was I was no longer to promise the level of service that I offered mobily when I wasn't there. And it was a hard realization, because, and this happened because, you know, I would hire detailers and they'd be out working on stuff, and, you know, they would either do another car wash and not say anything, or, you know, they would, you know, whatever. They wouldn't come back with all the money, or crazy things would happen. Windshields would be shattered, you know, just all kinds of crazy stuff's happened over the years of having mobile employees. And it ultimately, it just added more frustration to me and my clients. So I had to add, you know, I had to kind of not end, but just kind of put on pause some of those relationships until I could find someone reliable enough. And then I would find someone reliable enough. It would work out for like a month or so. And then they would realize like, oh, I'm just going to start my own thing. Like I could start my own thing for $1,500, whatever, you know. And then it became an issue where I was like renting my van to someone. And then it just, honestly, man, it's hard. I would super suggest one or the other. I mean, at this point in my career, I would suggest one or the other.
That way you figure your direction and then go and run
Yeah.
it. And then if something transpires from that or evolves, then go from there.
Exactly. I have this van. I still have all my mobile stuff on a skid that you could just load right into the back of the van if you need it. Otherwise, it can seat 7 people. You know, a guy came to pick up his motorcycle the other day and this freak storm happened. And I was like, you know what? Take my van, come back tomorrow, and I'll give you the bike. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, just take it. I'll drive my car. I drive my car most of the time anyway. So, and it's nice to be able to offer that courtesy vehicle too, right?
Yeah.
Or a courtesy shuttle or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's a rolling billboard and stuff, but we don't do a lot of mobile detailing out of it. The only ones that I still do is, like I said, my mentor, and I do him every Saturday morning just because, you know, I kind of put him through the ringer with multiple different people, and now I'm just like, you know what, like I owe it back to you for all the stuff that you've like, you know, passed on to me. I owe it to you to make sure that's right every week. So
That's
you know,
nice.
so it's actually kind of nice because, you know, I talked him into ceramic coating it, because usually he leases his cars. JD, stop. Usually he leases his cars, so he'll never let me ceramic coat them. When he bought this Porsche, and I was like, you gotta let me protect this thing, man. You gotta let me protect it. He's like, fine, write me an invoice for it. So I wrote him an invoice for PPF, for, you know, full frontal PPF, for you know, CS2 titanium on the rest of the car.
The whole treatment.
Yeah, wheels off, coating, and the prep was like $199, right? Because it's brand new and I take care of it all the time. But it came out to like $4 grand or something. And I sent it to him. He never even said anything back to me, right? So a couple weeks later, he calls me. He's like, so I was just in Costco and I come out and some guy's staring at my car. And he's like, man, this is a beautiful car. He's like, okay, thanks. And he's like, what did you do to the finish to make it look like that? Like, why? How is it so bright and shiny? And he's like, well, it's brand new, but you know, my detail guy comes every weekend. Detailer's Las Vegas, and the guy was like, Justin Day, and Mark was like, yeah, why? And he's like, well, I don't know him personally, but I've heard of him and I've seen his work on many of my friends' cars. And if I ever get a car that's nice enough, I'm taking it straight to him. He's like, I had to call you and tell you that. He's like, I was kind of blown away that somebody stopped me in a Costco parking lot and knew you, but didn't know you, knew of you and knew of your work. He's like, that speaks volumes of your work. He's like, so I'm going to drop my car off for that ceramic coating next week. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Sweet.
So he ends up bringing it. He's like, I don't want the film. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do the film anyways, right? I just got this new plotter.
Yeah.
I'm
You're excited.
Yeah, I'm doing the film, bro. Sorry. Like, I don't care what you say. So he gets here and, you know, we're looking over the car. He's like, Justin, what's that? And he points to this little black rock chip on his bumper. And I'm like, that's a rock chip. He's like, fine. I want the film all over the front end. I'm like, okay. Right. And, you know, but we goof off and stuff. And the car came out phenomenal. Thanks to this plotter, man. Oh my God. It makes life so much easier than trying to bulk install things. Like,
yeah.
So, you know, with that being said, we crushed it on that. And, He was really happy. So next we have this 68 C10 with a custom hood with a big old,
Oh,
yeah.
that's always fun.
On the phone like, Josh, look at this. How do I do this? Can you fly to Vegas, please?
So with where we're at on time, and we could keep going, but we do have to bring it to an end. But it's just some words of advice, based on your experience and what you've already gave a ton of, and your backstory was awesome. But anything you could give to the detailers that are, going again into that, getting into business and realizing, or let me back up. There was a question earlier I wanted to ask you. How important to you, and how important do you feel that education and training for the detail industry is, and how that's affected your business?
It's second to none. I mean, going to, Rupes and spending time with Jason Rose, and going to Rennie's and spending time with him, and going to these places, Richard Lynn's, and going to these places, you get so much more than just watching a YouTube video. Like, yeah, a YouTube video will tell you how to do it, but it won't allow you to do it. It won't be there to perfect your style,
Yeah.
And, guys ask me all the time, questions, and I have no problem helping, because I always tell people, like, hey, when they say, thank you so much, what can I do? I owe you one. You owe me to pay it forward to the next detailer that's coming up that needs to know the same thing that you need to know, like that I taught you, that I gave you, because this advances our industry as a whole. Like, I want so bad to put together like a Facebook group of the detailers just here in Las Vegas, so that we can almost just kind of like, hey, some dude's calling around for a C8, red C8. Like, this is what I quoted. Market. This is what I quoted him, But the problem with that is because the next guy will be like, all right, well, I'll go in $50 cheaper. You know what I mean? When in reality, we should all just be the same price, or, or more, same price. Maybe not same price, but relative. Yeah. You go to some places, it's $3,500 within reason, so that people know what to expect. And, but it's like, we also don't want to, our time's so valuable during the 8, 9, 10, 12, 16 hours that we're here. Like, spending 20 minutes with a client and not making any money, like them just walking and like tire kicking, it used to hurt. But now it's like, okay, I can spend 5 minutes, no more. I can come out. Otherwise, I have to charge for my time. If I'm going to charge for my time, we're just going to wash it. We're going to strip whatever wax is in it, and we're going to throw it in the light tunnel, and we'll look at it together. Otherwise, I can come out front, I can take a look, and be very quick with it. Another piece of advice to guys is don't get hung up on one brand. Try all the brands. I'm looking behind you, and I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have like all 9 of those top pads. And every now and then I use them. Like, I'm not a buff and shine guy all the time. I use Rupes pads. I use Americana pads, wherever they come from. I think you guys might even make Americana. Whoever makes, I don't know.
Yeah, you basically have something for your arsenal that satisfies your craft.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I just, it's like these liquids, there's always new liquids coming out, and
yeah.
And ultimately, whatever works for you, man, because like, you're in a hot and humid place, I'm in a super dry place. I'm in a hot and dry place. California's hot and dry. Yep. Minnesota's cold and damp. New York's cold and damp. So it's going to work different for people all over the country.
And I got personal experience with seeing that firsthand. Like, damn.
Traveling.
Yeah.
Exactly.
With social media, Facebook, that you can't get your hands on what it feels like you're in Florida compared to where you're at in Vegas. Right. And you're just reading off someone's post, and it's like, how'd that product work for them? Or,
you have to just think about it. Like, when you get out of the shower in Florida and dry off, you're still wet. When you get out of the shower here, you're like almost dry.
No towel. No
towel needed. I mean, you can hang a towel over a beach chair and it's dry in like 30 minutes, whereas there it takes a couple days to hang dry things, like, because there's so much moisture in the air.
Yeah.
So with that said, even elevation changes and stuff like that can be a difference. But so don't get hung up on one product. Try not to get too involved in, the detail pages and what people say and, the drama and all that stuff. Stay in your own lane, make friends with your neighbor detailers if you can. That's going to be in your best interest ultimately. We collaborate with a lot of detailers every now and then when I can't get, when I have a job coming in and I don't have enough help, I'm able to reach out to multiple different guys and say, hey, can you come? Hey, can you come? Hey, can you come? Hey, can you come? Again, put that competition with your local competition out of your mind and become, in competition with yourself yesterday and your past, and just stay in your focus, basically.
I like that. Well, Justin, thank you. I appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me, bud.
We're a little bit ahead of the numbers in regards to what podcast this is, but technically we are at number 14 with Justin, and thank you. It's cool being in the double digits because this is all new to me, new to Buff and Shine for doing this, but it's nice having, you on in the beginning, and hopefully we'll have it again in the future. And I appreciate your time and your backstory, and I hope everybody got a little something out of it, just like the rest of our podcasts that we offer. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. This would be podcast number 14 for Monday, February 15th, which is Love Your Detailer Day, which couldn't have been a better pick, right? Everything happens for a reason. So right. Awesome. Thank you, Justin. Thanks, I appreciate your time, and everybody watching. Thank you back at home. Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Bye.